Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over just that continuation of sideways action on the Bitcoin chart. Guys, I did say this is the boring season for Bitcoin, and of course, the last 2 weeks have been pretty boring. Just sideways chop up and down, guys. Let's just jump straight to the charts. If you do want just a smaller time frame to be trading on, then we can talk about the 1 hour here. Now, the volatility pivot is going to change quite erratically if there is a drop off on this chart or if there is a pump. But currently, we have 8 minutes to close. It's probably going to take about half an hour to an hour for YouTube to upload the video the way that they process things. And as long as we're below the volatility pivot at 27 to 28, and then also below the momentum pool at let's just say 27164, then I would just suggest that there's a higher likelihood that we're going to drop down perhaps to the bearish control zone around 27,000. Now, should bulls be able to take out this liquidity over here and recapture the volatility pivot at 27,228, then there's going to be more likely of a chance that we're going to retest these highs around 27,340. So you could pick your poison there. In between that area, we're just going to probably chop sideways. And, sometimes we can go sideways for quite a while. But, if you get embedded on one of the sides of this alpha momentum pool, then probably you're going to have a higher likelihood in that direction. Now, we are going to be adding momentum to the upside, so that is the stronger play should we be able to get there. But of course, losing the momentum pool, we could start to drift down. Let's go ahead and just jump over to the 6 hour chart because I want to give you guys a couple, shorter time frames to be looking at since, there's really nothing going on the larger time frames for the last couple weeks there. Guys, we can see that on the 6 hour chart, it's incredibly tight. The structure here is just incredibly condensed. And so that does suggest that, something has to give. But currently, you can see even on the 6 hour, which does close in 5 hours, that we are just basically just threading the needle of this ultra teeny tiny momentum pool. You see all of our EMAs over here. Let me turn off the price action. Look at how all these EMAs are just condensing in this one tiny little $100 area. And so that does suggest that something, like I said, it has to give, right? I mean, at some point, there has to be a big pop. So knowing these levels are going to help you out, just give you a little bit of an edge. First of all, we should note the volatility pivot on the 6 hour is all the way down here. So yes, we could pop down and we could retest the volatility pivot. You can see we've already tested this level, but yes, we could do it again. But in general, when we're above the volatility pivot, we're going to have an edge to the upside in terms of any just random jitter in the charts. And so again, as long as we're above 26,827, my bias is a continuation to the upside. And we do have a little bit of a structure here, which could be seen as potentially bullish, and we have this liquidity up here around 27.5. So if we do get a pop, I would be looking towards that 27.4, 27.5, and flipping that area, then the bullish control zone. But really is going to be the key here is the alpha momentum pool above 27. 170. I think that that's a higher likelihood that we pop up. Notice we are just holding momentum there, but we are in a 6 hour kind of uptrend, so that's actually not too bad. Now we will lose significant momentum if we do cross under 27,160, which is a little bit front runnerable to a bearish kind of development. But again, it could be sideways because this is just so tight in here, and so the MACD is telling us under 27,140 is the bigger red flag, and you can see we have our 21 and our 20 EMA. This is a bullish squeeze, guys. Okay, I just want to point that out. We are having. Why is that red color? Let's put that white. Okay, there we go. We do have this kind of squeeze going on right here between the 21 and the 10. And so if we are able to get a pop, then I would again just be looking towards that 27.3, 27.4, 27.5 area. And it looks like this thing might be actually intending to squeeze pretty soon. I saw some price action pop up. So just keep your eye out for that. The 6 hour is very highly condensed, and it may just want to, go for it. But no guarantees in trading, and this thing can also just be invalidated should it lose that 27 140. Guys, let's go ahead and jump to the daily. So for you guys who don't have time to just scrutinize charts all the time, you can be trading on the daily. And remember, when I give you these time frames, really it means like the next couple days, right? It means the next few days. It means the next few 6 hour sessions, the next few hourly sessions. These charts are good for multiple instances of candles. It's just that the volatility pivot may wiggle around quite a bit because volatility. Well, that's the nature of volatility. But here, if we look at the daily, we can see that the daily has a very similar thing going on as the 6 hour. But in this case, that squeeze is a little bit less secure as long as you're under 27,200. So that does explain why everything is so tight on the 6 hour. You can see that the daily chart, it's still not secure in its position. It did dip all the way down to a level that was previously our 2-day volatility pivot, our previous one, and but it did bounce off of it quite nicely. So overall, this structure is still pretty decent. You have a little bit of a fake out down here, but you can see the candle action overall is rising. This is just kind of moot, just kind of negates each other. And the bigger problem is that we are in this longer term, it's kind of like weekly downtrend here. And so we're just looking for the day to see if it can kind of pop up, grab some liquidity again around this $27,500 area. And if it can do that and hold that region above this neutral point of control, 27,354, then the daily bulls will just have a little bit of an edge. Now, they don't really have a sharp edge until they get above 27,912, but this number should come down in the next couple days. So that does suggest if they're able to grab and hold this area, that we would be trying to look for that $29,000 area. Now, critical here is that we are in the alpha momentum pool, and so again, it's just a no man's land, right? But if we are able to hold above 27,250, then that's going to give us just a little bit of a more likelihood that we're going to press against that neutral point of control and maybe try to go for the daily volatility pivot again, see if we can recapture it, capture the flag, right? But if we're going to be underneath the volatility pool and underneath the momentum pool, that's quite dangerous. So losing 27,000, just like I've been talking about for, gosh, almost a month now, 27,000 is that critical level. I don't like being underneath it. Above it, I'm pretty chill, okay? But underneath it, I just get worried that that old head and shoulders kind of structure over here could end up eventually playing out. So for me personally, under 27,000, unless we're like at some really critical support, I just don't like that play. And also, this daily setup is telling me that we could get pushed all the way down to a 26,000. Should we get embedded below this lose momentum line and the volatility pivot? Okay, but above that, no issue, just sideways, and then again above 28,000. It actually will look bullish. Let's go ahead and move to the 2-day. The 2-day is closing this afternoon. Guys, we previously had a 2-day volatility pivot, which was over here about 26,500. We did come back and tag it. I didn't expect us to retrace that much. I thought maybe 50% of this candle, but we came back the whole amount, and now we're basically at 50%. So the big test here is, are we going to flip back into that bullish area, or are we going to continue to test the bottom of the momentum pool here while the volatility pivot just kind of hangs out. And so that would actually be, in my mind, building a floor. Okay, as long as we're holding above the volatility pivot. Again, it was previously high, it was previously higher, but now it dropped lower. So that's actually a good thing. That's in our favor. The only scary thing is that sometimes we come back to test the volatility pivot, but as long as we hold above it, again, it's like in our favor because we want to be above the volatility pivot. It's going to give us that bias to the upside. And where we're really going to get a strong bias is above the momentum pool and above the volatility pivot. And that momentum pool is ending here at 27,270. So again, that goes along with like the daily 27,300. And then again, we'd be targeting that 27.4, 27.5, flipping that area. You can see our neutral point of control is over here at 27.4, essentially 27.388 on the 2-day, and that would put bulls back in charge, although they're not going to be fully in control until 29,790, so don't expect any type of bull run. But could we get a retest or an attempt to push higher? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of room for bulls to run should they be able to flip this neutral point of control on the 2-day. And then, of course, just the smaller time frames will limit how big any one particular move is, but we can analyze that later. Guys, right now, I just want to point out that the 2-day does look pretty good. It looks totally fine, okay? And again, I just am going to be much happier if we're above 27,300. You can see our 9 EMA is right here at 27,300 as well. And, you know, I would really love to be above the 9 on the 2-day, but more critically is that 9 on the daily, which is basically the same area. So yeah, doesn't really matter there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 2-week. Even though the 2-week doesn't close today, it does close in a day and 5 hours. And the 2-week, I do believe, is driving this market still. So, it's just good to be aware of where these levels are. I'm sure I showed you this in a prior episode, but currently our volatility pivot is at 28,780. Now there could be jitter between now and close, so I would just, for the safe side, just call it 29,000. And currently we are above the momentum pool on the 2-week, so that's actually a really good thing. On the 2-week, I'm feeling secure right now. Where I start to get a little bit worried is if we dip back into the momentum pool under 26,753. If on a 2-week basis we close underneath that level, then there's a good chance that we could retest the neutral point of control here at 25,824. And again, these are 2-week candles, okay? So it could take a couple 2-week sessions. That would be a long time just going sideways in this alpha momentum pool. I don't like being stuck in the alpha momentum pool. I like being embedded on top of it or embedded right below it, basically touching it and then taking up the bias. So if I have a bias to the upside, I want to be embedded like kind of exactly where we are on the top of the momentum pool, but I need the volatility pivot to be below us. That's going to tell me, yeah, we have a great chance to skyrocket. As long as the volatility pivot is above us, that suggests that we could just have some limitation and then maybe try again, okay, or even get knocked down. So, we would really have to flip the volatility pivot, and then I can start getting excited again, being above the momentum pool and the volatility pivot, right? So that's again like how this system works. But on the other hand, if the volatility pivot is above our head and we're embedded underneath the momentum pool, like instead of chilling here, we were chilling down here, then I would say, ooh, that's a great setup for a short because the volatility could push us to the downside, and then we're also going to lose momentum to the downside, and the combination makes a great short setup. That's how the system works, guys. But of course, if there was a volatility pivot here, right, instead of behind us, if there was one right in front of us, then I would suggest, okay, we're just going to bump our head into the volatility pivot, and then maybe we could even bounce back. You see why those things go together? And again, volatility is random and the momentum is structural. So they do go together. And it's very difficult to gauge randomness in the market. So, volatility trading isn't that easy. That's why it's a little bit complicated. On the other hand, you can just say that we are above the 9 here. We're above the 21. And so we're pretty bullish on, our EMAs. And you can see this EMA structure that has been squeezing here. Got a squeeze to the upside and we're still holding above the 9. So on the 2 week, everything looks perfectly fine. I don't have anything bad to say about the 2 week, guys. A lot of people keep freaking out. I don't understand why. Why do they keep trying to freak people out? Like, it looks beautiful over here. And now we're just looking at going sideways, having done all this pumping, then we're just looking to go kind of sideways, kind of track this out. And I think what the market might really be waiting for is just for this volatility pivot to come lower and lower and lower. It used to be up in like the 30s and it's been coming down. And they want it to come down lower. And then I think the big institutions are going to say, aha, now is the time to pop it up because the volatility pivot is at our back. Okay, this is like smart money stuff that I'm using here. I mean, I understand it's not smart money concepts for those of you who trade using that style, but the smart money isn't going to just be going all in if there's these type of critical levels right above their heads, okay? Because they can easily just get a reversal and then liquidated. Now, for us short-time traders, then yeah, I mean, we could obviously take tiny level trades, but if you're wanting to go from you know 20 25.5 to 35, you're not going to be really going for it right now. You're going to wait for conditions to be ideal. And it's just not an ideal setup on the macro yet. Again, the reason why is that we got super overheated and then we just needed to cool off. We may even need to cool off a little bit more and then go. It could be sideways and up, it could be sideways and down, but I would just expect not likely to have a God candle unless there's some really amazing news. Okay, really amazing news. And you can see that sometimes that does happen. And if you look at just the amount of candles right here, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are due for the potential for some type of volatility push up or down just based upon these little structures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, huge push down, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, huge push down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, huge push down, okay? So in this case over here, they were pushing up. In this case, they were pushing down over here. But you can see somewhere around 4 to 6 candles tends to be where we get big pushes. And currently we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is possible, and I'm just saying, it is possible that we do end up flipping this volatility pivot and getting just like a God candle to the upside within the next couple 2 week sessions, like the next I would say the next month. Okay. Alternatively, we get below this momentum pool, and in the next 1 to 2 closures on the 2 week, then we get some type of God candle to the downside. Okay, so just be aware that that's kind of how this liquidity moves in this market, and that right now we're pretty chill. Okay, again, I would prefer to be above that 27,300 where you can see the 50 here, but we're above the 21, we're above the 9, and right now, like as of just this moment, we're above the 4. So bullish, bullish, bullish. Easily could have a squeeze to the upside, at least to the volatility pivot, guys. Okay, so I am looking forward to maybe 27.4, 27.5, just to take out some liquidity, and then I'm very open-minded to attempting 29. And then if we flip that, then the sky's the limit, okay? Or maybe the bullish control zone's the limit, 35 up here. Just to remember that if we lose these areas, then the same principle works to the downside, okay? So if we end up getting into an EMA squeeze to the downside. Essentially, the 4 and the 9 could squeeze somewhere around 26, right? Like we were talking about before, it could squeeze somewhere here with the 35 to the downside. And that would start a chain reaction where we would lose the neutral point of control, and then we would have a 921 squeeze to the downside if we got below 25.3, and that would be just catastrophic for these charts. You would see us below the momentum pool and below the volatility pivot, and we would just skydive potentially down to 16,000 based upon this setup. So the 2 week, I do believe, is still in control. And right now, it looks neutral to good. Okay, neutral to good. And it has been looking very good. Okay, this was excellent. This was beautiful. This was the best possible setup that you could have in your life right here. Okay, yeah, you could, you wouldn't be blamed for being a little bit skeptical here. Okay, I went in here, I went in here, and then we followed here on alpha commission all the way up. But you could be forgiven for being a little bit skeptical down here. The EMA structure just wasn't there. But you cannot be forgiven, okay? You cannot be forgiven for missing this squeeze right here, which was just the most beautiful setup that there has ever been in Bitcoin, okay? And just this one little just wick kind of fake out as soon as we reclaimed that. Wow, okay. But that's water under the bridge at this point. No, we don't have that beautiful setup again, but we do have the potential to squeeze to the upside some more. And then again, losing this area, we have the potential to squeeze to the downside significantly. Okay, so just be on the lookout. Don't be too afraid of the charts right now. There may be one more pump left before we get smacked down. There could be more upside, okay? Or there could be just kind of sideways. We have a little bit of support down here. We're not likely to just fall straight down. And as you can see in the past, even when we do fall straight down, usually there's a buy up, okay? Because people have buy orders down here. Usually there's a buy up, and then you can just like exit your position and decide what you want to do next. Okay, so don't freak out if anything weird happens either. You got to keep your head kind of calm in these situations. Guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. That was your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.